Hey, it's Congressman Erik Paulsen. It is a beautiful day in Washington at our nation's capital. We've got a lot of great questions this week, and we're going to jump right into it. The first question this week comes from Illena in Wayzata, who wrote in saying, "Dear Congressman Paulsen, I recently read a heart-wrenching report about child neglect and abuse in India and the Philippines. Child abuse has for a long time been recorded in many parts of the world, but what I was surprised at finding was how prevalent child neglect and subsequent death is here in the United States. I wanted to reach out to see if there's anything Congress is doing to address the issue, and if not, how can we start that conversation? Thanks for your time and consideration." Well, Elena, let me just thank you for that important question. There's no doubt that when a child passes away or dies from the result of abuse or neglect, it's something we should all be caring about. And I, as acting chairman of the Human Resources Subcommittee, ironically am going to be leading a hearing this next Wednesday on that very issue. There are about 1,500 children that are documented to have died at the hand of neglect and abuse back in 2010, and reports estimate that's a low number. It's probably much higher. So the committee is going to focus on bipartisan legislation, on conducting a study now to show what are the effective programs for child welfare, to making sure that these abuses do not continue, because there's no doubt when you lose a child it's tragic, but there's no doubt at all that we should not be losing children at the hands of someone who is supposed to be caring for that child. And on Tuesday, I held a teletown hall meeting with about 15,000 of you and my constituents joining. Got great advice, great feedback, and then about 200 people lined up to ask questions. So we didn't get to every single question, and folks that had an interest to share their thoughts. So we have followed up afterwards with my staff and myself. One of those people that had a follow-up question was John in Edina. And John asked specifically, are there strategies for corporations with money held overseas to receive tax waivers if they invest some of that money back here in America in education, research, infrastructure, and creating jobs? Well, great question. It's a fundamental reason why we have to have tax reform. The truth is, we need to reform the tax code. It hasn't been done since 1986, and a part of that is not only simplicity and fairness, but making the tax code competitive. As an example, if you have a Minnesota company that is selling overseas, say in Germany, they're going to get taxed twice, once in Minnesota or the United States, and then also in Germany. German competitors are only going to get taxed once in their home state. We need to change that to make sure they're not doubly taxed. That'll make sure we keep our headquartered companies in Minnesota and in the United States. It'll make sure we keep the innovation in the United States, keep the earnings coming back from overseas sales, and invest here at home. Great question. Hopefully that's the direction we're going to move on tax reform as well. I want to thank all of you for your thoughts, your advice. Continue to reach out on Twitter, Facebook, or of course on the web at paulsen.house.gov, and have a great week and weekend.